Okay.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and get started? And I think we have uh, uh, over 20 folks in here. We had over 40 registered, but it's a, uh, a free event, so you never know what the actual attendance will be. But I want to thank everyone for hopping online with us as we try to navigate our way through all the interesting new things that we are dealing with here in Dearborn County. So I want to thank Bebe and Absolute Web Marketing for agreeing to help us learn a little bit more about the hottest new trend in meetings here throughout the country with Zoom. So I'm going to kick it over to Bebe so she can kind of walk us through everything we need to know to be effective in this new way of meetings here in 2020. Bebe, if you want to take it away.
Okay, well, thank you, Eric. And Zoom is really, really popular now. It has increased in popularity, partially because it's easy to use. Sometimes it's a little tricky to use it the first time to get online and get registered and everything. But once you know the ins and outs, then it's very easy to use. Skype used to be one of the most popular forms of having meetings, but it has skyrocketed over Skype and all the other different types of possibilities for online meetings. In fact, Motley Fool recently suggested that you buy Zoom as an investment. And since that, it's gone up, I think like 50 points when everything else was going down. So it is definitely increasing in popularity. Now, Zoom can be a fun thing. As you see, I've got flowers in the background. I can change my background. I can do all kind of different things, and I can have fun with it, or I can show what's in my background at home. So it's amazing the different things that you can do with Zoom. And so if you want to get your tools, you have to hover over the toolbar clear down at the bottom. Now, Eric, can you see my mouse moving?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about these down here. This toolbar is just enlarged up here a little bit so you could see it a little bit better. Okay. The first one is the mute button. And that's very important because if you get a phone call or the dog's barking in the background and you're having a meeting, then you need to mute yourself right away. So it's really helpful to know where the mute button is. Next to the mute button is a little caret that you can click on, and it will give you options on how to adjust the sound and adjust the microphones. Now, this is very helpful because I was in a meeting last week and they said my sound was too loud, but I could barely hear them. And for some reason, the default setting for my setup had the sound way loud, and what was coming in that I could hear was very soft through the speaker. So going to that setting was very helpful because I could balance it rather than being so off kilter. Now the next area is over at the stop video. And this is very helpful. If you get a phone call, if something's bothering you or you don't want to be seen during the meeting, then you can stop the video. Unfortunately, people don't realize sometimes that they're being videoed. They forget that Zoom meeting, everybody gets to see you. And it has to the right. I don't think just the host can do it. I think other people too. It will give you the link so that you can copy the link and let other people get added into the meeting. The next toolbar button is, on mine, it says Manage Participants because I'm a host. If you're not a host, if you're a participant, it says, I believe it says participants. That will give you the option of being able to see who's in the meeting. If you click on it, then on the right side, it will show you that all the meeting participants. On the next option that you see up here says polling. Polling is only available in the Pro Edition. Eric has the Pro Edition, I have the free edition, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. Share screen allows the host to share the screen, so that's what I'm doing right now, so that you can see my PowerPoint, and I'm sharing the screen and you're being able to see my mouse move too. Okay, the chat button is very helpful in that you can see the chat room. You can ask any questions, post anything that you want. Everybody in the group is going to see it. So if we end up with 50 people in here, all 50 people are going to be able to see the chat. But it gives you, allows you to ask any kind of questions. If something's not clear, in this case, everybody's muted, so you can't ask me a question, but you can put it into the chat. Eric is watching the chat. So why don't you say hi, Eric, and get a chance to use the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to type anything in there, and we'll get any questions that you have answered, or at least we'll try to answer them, right? So thank you.
We'll do the best we can. Zoom is pretty advanced in that it's got a lot of options. So I can't guarantee we can answer every question, but we can definitely find out how to get the answer. Okay, again, I'm a host, and so it's got a button on there, or this, I was a host when I made this screenshot. You can record. And then breakout rooms is a rather new aspect of Zoom, and it's a lot of fun. And that, you know, if you've got a large group, even if you went to a meeting and you had a large group and you wanted to go into breakout sessions, divide the large group up into smaller groups, have them do a discussion or an exercise, then you can have them come back. You can give them so many minutes to work on the exercise, and then they pop back into the main room and everybody can share what they did. But that's a really nice feature to be able to break out into small groups and back into the main group. Now, the one thing that is kind of funny that they hide is over here is the end meeting. First time I went onto Zoom, I couldn't figure out how to end the meeting because the toolbar was hidden. And so right here it pops up, you know, if you hover down at the bottom area, that's where you can end the meeting, and that will take you out of the meeting. Up here at the top, you'll see speaker view, and you know, shot of the when you look at the participants, it shows you who is on there. It shows you can, for me, I can stop the video, and this was when I was the host, so the host can remove people. If somebody is causing a problem, then they can be removed from the meeting. But the one thing that you can do, if you right click on your name, you can rename whatever it is you're called. So if you can put your name, you can put your first name, you can put your email address, you can put your business, whatever you want people to see. This is where you check it out and change it. As a host, you can mute participants. You can allow people to unmute themselves. They can rename themselves. They can play chime when they enter. Now this is one that I definitely don't like to leave on. I like it when it's quiet when people enter. I don't want to be giving a presentation or talking and having that bing bong go off all the time. So I always leave that one unchecked. Okay, most important thing is that you have to be prepared even before you get on your meeting. There is a big difference between a Zoom meeting and a Zoom webinar. This, what we're doing right now, is more like a webinar in that I'm the only one speaking. Typically on a webinar, the audience can see the speaker, but nobody can see each other. In a Zoom meeting, everybody can see each other, the screen, the little thumbnails, and if it's not muted, then they can participate and talk just like they were at a meeting. Now, people are used to going to webinars, and they're used to the host not being able to see them. So this is a hard switch that people are having a time getting used to realizing that people are watching you. There was a lady that was, the video went pretty viral on the internet, that she was in a staff meeting, and it was a very serious staff meeting, and she was, listening intently. She carried her laptop down the hall with her, walked into the bathroom, set the laptop down, completely forgot that the whole staff was watching her in the bathroom because she forgot that she was on video. So, and you can find that on YouTube. It's not an indecent thing, but she has to face her staff members now because everybody's laughing that she took the video. She took the whole staff to the bathroom. So if you're going to do something and walk away or anything, then you can stop the video. If you got to talk to somebody, stop the camera. That's something that's very important to remember. The next thing to remember is to dress for the meeting. Okay? Sometimes people forget that they're going to be on the video meeting, and you would treat it just like you would do at any other meeting, any face-to-face meeting. If you're going to a board meeting and you would wear business casual, then that's what you would wear for the Zoom meeting. Now, you may have sweatpants or shorts or whatever on below the waist that nobody can tell, or your fuzzy slippers, but you should dress on the top for whatever type of meeting that you're going to, business appropriate, or if it's a fun meeting, you dress for fun. Okay. Another thing is that when you get dressed, you have to look at the colors. When I first was getting ready for this presentation this morning, I had a yellow shirt on, and the yellow shirt just did not look good on the internet. So it's different colors can kind of change the look. So you want to make sure and look and see what color you have on. The other thing is you want to check the background and the lighting. The background can be very important. I saw one Zoom meeting that the gentleman was in his office, but he had a mounted deer behind him. And what he didn't realize is through the whole meeting, the antlers of the deer were right behind him. And all I could look at him was, I laughed through the whole thing because he was sitting there with these antlers coming out of his head. Or flower pots, there'll be a shelf in the background and a flower pot will be coming out of somebody's head. So look and see what say natural light's really good, but I'm so light skinned, natural light works the best for you. There are different looks for the phone versus the laptop or the tablet. And that's really important. If you're using a phone to get onto Zoom, you're in the car or something, sometimes that's the only way you can do it, that's fine, but it doesn't have all the features. The phone app is limited. It is not nearly as good as the desktop client or Zoom.us. So whenever possible, don't use the phone. It just doesn't work nearly as good. Okay, there's a free version and there's a paid version. I have the free version. It allows me to host a meeting up to 40 minutes. If I go over the 40 minutes, then Zoom ends the meeting. The first 3 times that you go over 40 minutes, it will let you go over a little bit. But then after you go over 3 times, then it will turn off the meeting for you. You know, it gives you a 10-minute warning and says your time is going to be up. So that's kind of annoying, but it is free. And if you've got short meetings, then that works perfectly. The paid version allows you to go as long as you want to, and it also gives you cloud storage. So if you recorded your video, then it will go up on the cloud, and you've got it stored there, and you've got quite a bit of storage, so you can stay there. So those are the 2 main differences with the paid and the free version. Okay, there are different ways of getting on Zoom, and you'll find that there's often different ways of doing the exact same thing on Zoom. It's not just one way to do anything. There is zoom.us, and I believe that Eric had everybody go to zoom.us to get into the meeting. You download the Zoom desktop client, that gives you a lot more features. It's much easier to get into a meeting. It's much easier to start a meeting. And you can do the background like I started the meeting with, and I showed you the different backgrounds. You can only do that if you have the Zoom desktop client. Okay, so this is when you come over, it's hidden right now, but over here in this corner, there's a little circle that's a cog wheel that has you get into your settings. And if you go over to where resources is right there, then you'll get a drop-down box, and that will show you how to download the Zoom desktop client, and that will put it right on your computer. Okay. Eric, are we getting any questions at all?
Not yet, no questions.
Okay.
Be doing a good job.
Okay, anybody's got any questions, bombard Eric with them. Okay, so over here, that's where you would download it, and it will put it on your hard drive of either your tablet or your laptop, computer, whatever. That will get to. You can also, it gives you tutorials if you want more information, training, blogs, frequently asked questions, but there's a lot of information under the resource area. Now over here is where it's got the pictures. So you can change, I can delete my picture, I can put another picture up there, and it's very important to have your picture, because when you don't have the video going, then it just will show your name, and it's just more personal for people to see your face. It just is more friendly. So put up a picture, but it has to be less than 2 megs. I didn't realize it. I put a picture up there that was 2.1 meg, and my picture wasn't showing. And so I found out the hard way that if you have it that's too big, it won't show up. So make sure that you've got a picture that's below 2 megs and put it up there. It allows you to move it around a little bit, so to focus on what part of the picture you want to be seen. But it just makes it more friendly. Rather than just having a name, it's got a face and your name. Makes it a little bit more appealing. Now here is the area with the personal ID number. And that's an important part. When you create if you're going to host a meeting, you have the option of using your personal ID or a randomly selected ID. Now, for a meeting like this, I believe Eric used a randomly selected ID because there is a wide variety of people, and this is going to be a one-time presentation, and it's not going to be repeated, so we didn't need to give out the personal ID. But if I was having a staff meeting every week, then I would use my personal ID so that the staff members, all they'd have to do is click the same link every week, and I wouldn't have to send them the invite every week. Now, you got to be careful. I watched a YouTube video on a training this week, and the guy was saying, oh, it's just so much easier. I give everybody my personal ID. Well, the problem with that is they now have Zoom hackers that are, they'll get into a meeting and get the personal ID, and they'll keep coming back. So if it's a paid meeting, then they've maybe paid once and they got okay. We are still in the Zoom.us settings, and with this over here, the first part was the profile. That was the page before this. This is the settings down here. Now there's tons and tons of settings in Zoom. Okay? So most of them are just preference. You know, do you like it to bing bong when people arrive, or do you not like them to ding when people arrive? You know, there's just, you know, whatever you prefer. There are a few things that are important for you to see. The first one is the host video. It says start meeting with the video on. Okay, that's a problem because if you start the meeting with the video on, then you don't have a chance to prepare yourself. What I usually like to do is I start the meeting with it off. I can see myself, and then if they want and when they want to. So that's very helpful. Another section is the audio type. You always want to have telephone and computer audio together. Okay? The reason is sometimes you're going to have a slow internet and the sound will not work through your computer. And I've had it where people have, and I've actually had to do it sometimes where I call and I'm on the conference through my cell phone while I'm standing there in the video is through Zoom. So it doesn't happen often, but it always gives people that option. Okay, and you can allow people to join the meeting before the host gets there. That gives people a way that they can, you know, if they're the early birds and they want to be prepared and everything, then they can get to the meeting before you. And that's especially like in a staff meeting when you're talking, gives people a chance to chit chat a little bit before the meeting starts. Similar to what you would do if you walked into a meeting early that was in person.
Hey, Bebe.
Yes.
Real quick, got a question and a comment. First, Mindy mentions another option for ID numbers is you can set the meetings to be reoccurring. So it'll just create an ID for that meeting in particular.
Okay.
It's another way to do that. And then a question from Alice. If you set up on your laptop, do the settings carry over to other devices such as your phone?
No, these settings are strictly for Zoom.us. And if you do the desktop client, then there'll be different settings for those. So that's why you need to, it's helpful to do the desktop client because we'll have two completely different sets of settings. Okay. That is the basics. I think we're at a half an hour right now. What are the kind of questions? Because there are lots more things that I can show you, but we don't have time today to go through it. What kind of, do we have a few questions from anybody? I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Anyone else have any questions? I will say we've been using this here at the chamber, and with other, also at I'm on the Hidden Valley Golf Course board, and we've been using it for that. It's been really incredible how easy it's been for people to at least be able to kind of join and just do the basics. So it's been a really fantastic tool. Mike asks, will this presentation be available after this live presentation? Yes, it will. I'll put it up on the chamber site and put it out on Facebook and things. So you'll have access to it as soon as I figure out how to do that and where the files are saved to. I will get that up. Kim asks if we could do a follow-up session and go more in depth. Absolutely. If that's something that people want, we can definitely do a more of a deep dive on Zoom and on kind of teleconferencing in general. I think is probably a useful topic for us all to discuss.
Yeah, it might be helpful, Eric, if you are interested, why don't you put it in the chat and say, yes, I'd be interested in more in depth. If you know people that would want to come to, if we did this 101 again, if you want to have them watch the video, or if you would like enough people to do another live session, we could do that too. Now, what's interesting is since so many people are stay at home now, that they can't leave and they're missing conversing with other people, then they're having Zoom meetings, Zoom happy hours, Zoom get-togethers. I had a meeting with some of my friends from high school. We all got together and had a Zoom meeting at 5 o'clock and had a happy hour together. So it's a nice way you can use Zoom for social and you can use Zoom for business. So it's very flexible.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been great for my family here. My parents are up in Wisconsin, so it's been great for them to be able to see their grandkids at least on the computer, right? So we've been using it in a number of different ways, and it's been very useful.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any other questions?
If not, thank you all very much for participating. This is the first meeting we've done through Zoom with the Chamber of Commerce. So I appreciate everyone for hopping in and being guinea pigs a little bit here on this thing. And I am sure as we move forward and as this whole situation continues, we will be doing more of these. So keep a lookout, and I hope that you found it useful. If you do have any feedback, please let me know. ekrans@dearborncountychamber.org. And any other questions that you may have. We're going to be getting a lot out today on the specifics of the CARES Act and how to apply for some of those loans. So if you do see that come across, make sure you share that. We want to make sure that that gets out to everyone as much as possible. Tons of questions on that, as you can imagine. But other than that, thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you so much, Bebe and Absolute Web Marketing for walking us through it.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
All right. Thanks, everyone.